Years ago in South Korea, a young boy named Young-hoo lived with his father Sergeant Park after sadly losing his mother at a very young age. Even though life was not easy, his father did everything he could to take care of him alone. Sergeant Park worked as a highway patrol officer, and every night he would leave home to do his dangerous job while Young-hoo waited for him to come back safely. One night during work, Sergeant Park stopped a suspicious car on the road and asked the driver to roll down the window, but the moment he looked inside, something felt very strange. Two young people were sitting inside the car looking completely lost, almost like they were under some kind of strange control. The driver was wearing a creepy ring shaped like a crow, which made the whole situation feel even more suspicious. Park asked the driver to take a breath test, but instead of listening, the young man suddenly stepped on the gas and sped away. Sergeant Park quickly grabbed onto the car door, trying to stop them from escaping, but things turned dangerous fast. The driver attacked him and violently threw him onto the road, leaving him badly hurt. Soon, Sergeant Park was rushed to the hospital, but the doctors said his condition was very serious. Hearing this broke young Young-hoo's heart. He had already lost his mother, and now he was terrified of losing his father too. Feeling helpless and scared, Young-hoo ran to a nearby church with tears in his eyes. He prayed to God for the first time, begging for his father to survive. At that emotional moment, a young priest quietly sat beside him and started praying with him. The priest gently told Young-hoo that faith can do amazing things and that nothing is impossible if you truly believe. Young-hoo held on to those words and believed with all his heart. Later, he returned home and waited nervously for updates from the hospital with his grandmother. After hours of stress and sadness, the little boy finally fell asleep, but in his dream, something emotional happened. His father appeared in front of him, calm and peaceful. Sergeant Park gently told his son to be a good person, behave well, and always help people who are in need. At first, Young-hoo does not understand what his father is trying to say. Before leaving, Park gently says goodbye to his son and grabs Young-hoo's right hand. Suddenly, a bright glowing energy starts shining from his father's hand, making the moment feel strange and mysterious. Moments later, Young-hoo suddenly wakes up in the middle of the night, but sadly, the nightmare becomes reality. He receives heartbreaking news that his father could not survive his injuries and has passed away. The boy is completely shattered because now he has lost both of his parents. The next morning, a funeral is held for Sergeant Park. Family members and friends gather to say their final goodbye. Even the young priest from the church comes to comfort the family and offer his condolences. But Young-hoo is filled with pain, sadness, and anger deep inside. He feels betrayed. He remembers praying with all his heart for his father to survive, but nothing changed. In a moment of anger, Young-hoo grabs a crucifix and throws it at the priest, shouting that God never listened to his prayers. From that day on, the young boy completely loses faith and stops believing. Years later, Young-hoo grows up and becomes a completely different person. Instead of believing in faith, he focuses only on strength. He trains hard and builds a career as an MMA fighter. Over time, he becomes one of the best fighters in the sport and earns the title of undefeated middleweight champion. One day, Young-hoo travels to the United States for an important match against an American fighter named John White, who is determined to take his championship belt. As soon as the referee starts the fight, John quickly throws a powerful kick toward Young-hoo, but the champion reacts instantly, dodging the attack without any trouble. Before John can recover, Young-hoo fires back with one strong punch. The hit is so powerful that John immediately falls to the ground, completely knocked out. The crowd goes crazy, thinking the fight is over, but suddenly, something strange happens. Young-hoo becomes overwhelmed with uncontrollable anger. Instead of stopping, he starts attacking John again and again in pure rage. Things quickly get out of control, but thankfully, the referee rushes in and stops the fight before serious damage is done. In the end, Young-hoo wins another match and keeps his undefeated record. After winning another fight, Young-hoo gets on a plane and heads back to Seoul. During the flight, he falls asleep, but once again, he sees his late father in a strange dream. This time, the two are standing inside a creepy mausoleum. The place feels cold and silent. Sergeant Park quietly tells his son to follow him to the end of a long hallway. When Young-hoo reaches the end, he sees an altar with a crucifix placed on it. But even after all these years, Young-hoo is still angry at God for taking his father away. Filled with resentment, he reaches for the crucifix, wanting to throw it away, but suddenly, something impossible happens. The cross sticks tightly to his hand and refuses to come off. Moments later, a burning flame suddenly appears on his arm, causing terrible pain. Terrified, Young-hoo suddenly wakes up on the plane, breathing heavily. At first, he thought it was only a nightmare, but then he notices something shocking: his hand is actually bleeding. That is when he realizes the dream somehow felt real. Even though he is confused and scared, Young-hoo wraps his injured hand in a bandage and returns to his apartment to get some rest. But late at night, something terrifying happens. While sleeping, a dark shadow-like figure appears in his room. The strange creature slowly moves closer and starts tormenting him. Young-hoo tries to move, but he cannot even open his eyes or control his body. He feels completely trapped. Then suddenly, the creature notices the strange wound on Young-hoo's hand. For some reason, it becomes afraid and quickly disappears into the darkness. Young-hoo finally wakes up in panic, only to see that his hand is bleeding again. Completely confused, he rushes to a hospital. After several medical tests, the doctors tell him something strange: there is nothing physically wrong with him. Since they cannot find any medical reason for the injury, they suggest he visit another hospital for more answers. Young-hoo has no idea what is happening to him, but then his driver tells him a strange story about his niece, Hong Jin. When Hong Jin was only 15 years old, she suddenly stopped being able to sleep. Even worse, blood started coming out of her eyes. One day, she completely lost her eyesight. Desperate to help her daughter, Hong Jin's mother took her to a shaman. The shaman discovered that the girl had a powerful supernatural ability and trained her to control it. Sadly, Hong Jin never got her eyesight back, but in exchange, she gained something unusual. Even though she was blind, she became able to see supernatural spirits and strange energies. Since then, she has spent her life helping people with her special gift. Even though Young-hoo does not believe in ghosts or supernatural things, he is desperate for answers, so he asks to meet Hong Jin. Soon, he travels to a quiet sanctuary far away from the busy city. There, he finally meets the young woman and shows her the strange wound on his hand, asking what it means. Using her supernatural vision, Hong Jin senses a bright energy coming from Young-hoo's hand. After checking carefully, she tells him that if he wants answers, he should go to a church on the other side of Seoul. Although he still finds everything hard to believe, Young-hoo decides to go. But when he arrives at the church, something strange happens again. A large flock of crows suddenly blocks the entrance, almost like they are trying to stop him from going inside. Finding this creepy, Young-hoo decides to enter from the back instead. At that exact moment inside the church, two priests named Father An and Father Choi are desperately trying to save a young man who appears to be possessed by an evil spirit. The priests are performing an exorcism, hoping to free him, but suddenly, the possessed man breaks free from his chair and violently attacks Father An. Father Choi quickly jumps in to help and pulls the man away, but things only get worse. The possessed man suddenly spits thick black slime from his mouth, terrifying Father Choi so badly that he runs away in fear. Now completely out of control, the possessed man charges toward Father An, ready to kill him. But right before things turn deadly, Young-hoo steps in. Using his fighting skills, he throws the man away and tries to hold him down. But the moment Young-hoo grabs him with his injured hand, something unbelievable happens. A bright white flame suddenly bursts out and starts burning the possessed man's head. Seeing this chance, Father An quickly pours holy water on the man. Instead of stopping the fire, the holy water makes it even stronger, burning away the evil spirit inside him. Finally, the young man collapses to the floor, completely free from possession. Young-hoo stands there in shock. He realizes that the strange flame came from the wound on his own hand. After looking closely, Father An explains something unbelievable. He says the wound is called a stigmata, a special mark similar to the wounds Jesus had during crucifixion. According to the priest, people with this mark can sometimes receive special powers like healing people or fighting evil spirits. Of course, Young-hoo refuses to believe any of it, but at the same time, he wants answers, so he invites Father An to his apartment. Once there, Father An says a prayer to protect the home from evil spirits. While looking around, he notices an old photo of Young-hoo with his father. Suddenly, Father An realizes something shocking: Young-hoo was actually the same little boy he prayed with years ago before Sergeant Park died. But instead of saying anything, the priest quietly keeps it a secret. Before leaving, Father An gives Young-hoo a necklace with a cross and tells him to keep it close for protection. Later that night, Father An contacts the Vatican with an urgent warning. He says he finally found proof that a dangerous bishop of darkness is hiding in Seoul. This mysterious man serves evil spirits and secretly chooses innocent people to become possessed for dark purposes. But what Father Rin does not know is that this evil man is actually Ji Shin, the owner of a nightclub called Babylon. Behind his normal public image, Ji Shin hides a terrifying secret. He is also the same person responsible for Sergeant Park's death years ago. That same night, Ji Shin enters a secret room hidden inside his nightclub. Deep underground, there is a dark altar built to worship an evil being called the Sacred Serpent. In exchange for immortality and eternal youth, Ji Shin offers human souls to this dark power, secretly destroying lives across Seoul. Meanwhile, Father Rin knows he cannot stop someone this dangerous alone. He visits other priests, hoping to find help for future exorcisms, but most of them are too scared and refuse to get involved. Feeling hopeless, Father Rin returns home, but when he arrives, he sees someone waiting outside, and to his surprise, it is Yonghu. The fighter admits that he found the priest's address through a church secretary because he still needs help. Even after the protection prayer at his apartment, strange things have not stopped happening. He still cannot sleep, and the strange mark on his hand keeps getting worse. Seeing how serious the situation is, Father Rin gives Yonghu a special rosary blessed by the Pope himself. He explains that it can protect him from evil spirits. The priest also tells him something important: the strongest weapon against evil is faith. But Yonghu quickly shakes his head. He admits that he stopped believing in God the day his father died. After praying so hard and still losing him, he simply could not believe anymore. Hearing this, Father Rin opens up about his own painful past. He explains that he also lost his faith once, years ago. His mentor, the man who taught him everything about exorcisms, passed away. After losing someone so important, Father Rin became angry and confused too. But over time, he slowly understood something: sometimes God's plans are hard to understand in the beginning. Even when life feels unfair, faith can eventually help people find answers. Since then, Father Rin has spent his life helping others and continuing the work his mentor started. Still, he quietly admits that he does not know how much longer he can keep fighting these dark forces alone. After hearing this honest story, Yonghu starts respecting the priest even more. He even offers to drive him wherever he needs to go. During the ride, Yonghu remembers the dangerous exorcism at the church. He points out how Father Rin almost got killed by the possessed man and says it is too risky for him to keep doing this alone, so Yonghu offers to help. But Father Rin immediately refuses. He does not want Yonghu getting dragged into something so dangerous. Soon, the priest asks Yonghu to stop near an apartment building because he has received another emergency call about a possible possession. Before getting out, Father Rin thanks him for the ride and heads inside. But suddenly, Yonghu freezes for a quick moment. When he looks at Father Rin, he feels like he sees his own father standing there. Worried something bad might happen to the priest, Yonghu changes his mind and decides to follow him. Before entering, he hides the strange mark on his hand under a glove. Seeing that Yonghu refuses to leave, Father Rin finally accepts his help. Together, they enter the apartment of a frightened young mother whose face is covered with painful injuries, like someone attacked her badly. The woman nervously points upstairs and says that her daughter, Soo-jin, has been possessed by an evil spirit. The two slowly head toward the girl's room. Before opening the door, Father Rin carefully draws a cross on the entrance using a special pencil made from a sacred olive tree. He explains that this will stop the evil spirit from escaping. Then they finally enter inside. They find Soo-jin sitting calmly in her room. She looks completely normal and seems confused by their sudden arrival. She asks what is happening. At first, Father Rin believes she is pretending to act innocent. He raises a crucifix in front of her face, expecting a reaction, but to his surprise, nothing happens. Soo-jin calmly places her hands on the cross, completely unaffected. Then the girl explains that her mother has severe depression and likely caused the injuries to herself. Still suspicious, Father Rin tries another test. He presses another cross against her face, expecting some kind of reaction. Again, nothing happens. Now confused, Father Rin steps outside the room with Yonghu and quietly says something important. He believes the evil spirit may still be hiding deep inside her body. To make sure, he suddenly rushes back into the room with Yonghu helping him. Father Rin forces holy water down Soo-jin's throat, and instantly, something horrifying happens. The holy water works. Su-jin suddenly starts coughing and vomiting blood. Her face changes into something terrifying, revealing the evil spirit hiding inside her. The possessed girl violently attacks father and then throws him against the wall. Seeing this, Young-hoo jumps in to help and tries holding her down on the bed, but suddenly, Su-jin starts floating in the air and throws Young-hoo straight toward the ceiling with supernatural force. Then something even worse happens. The possessed spirit stares directly at Young-hoo with glowing red eyes and says something terrifying. It reveals that it was the one responsible for killing his father. Those words instantly fill Young-hoo with uncontrollable rage. Blinded by anger, he rushes at Su-jin and starts attacking her without thinking. Father-in quickly grabs him and tries pulling him back, struggling to stop him. Meanwhile, the evil spirit keeps whispering to Young-hoo, trying to push him deeper into anger and hatred. For a moment, it looks like Young-hoo is losing control, but somehow he manages to calm himself down. Then he removes his glove. Using the strange mark on his hand, he grabs Su-jin's face. Immediately, bright flames begin burning across her head as the evil spirit screams in pain. Seeing the chance, Father-in quickly pours holy water over her. This time, the evil spirit cannot survive. After one final scream, it is completely forced out of Su-jin's body. The exorcism finally works. Later, after Su-jin recovers, Father-in gently asks if she met anyone strange recently. He believes she may have crossed paths with the mysterious Bishop of Darkness, the same evil man secretly placing spirits inside innocent people. But before Su-jin can answer, something horrifying happens. Suddenly, blood starts flowing from her eyes and she grabs her throat in pain. Far away inside his dark secret room, Ji-shin begins another terrifying ritual at the altar of the sacred serpent. This time, he uses a creepy voodoo doll connected to Su-jin and starts attacking her through dark magic. Back at the apartment, Su-jin suddenly begins suffering badly. She screams in pain as something invisible attacks her body. Seeing what is happening, Father-in quickly understands that someone is using dark power against her from far away. Without wasting time, he starts praying with all his strength to block the evil magic, and suddenly, something incredible happens. Because of Father-in's strong faith, Ji-shin's crow-shaped ring suddenly begins burning. At the same time, the voodoo doll catches fire with bright white flames. The dark connection between Ji-shin and Su-jin is finally broken. After surviving the terrifying attack, Father-in tells Su-jin to rest for the night and recover. Later, he returns home with Young-hoo. After everything they went through, the two decided to relax a little while eating dinner together. They start talking more personally. Curious, Father-in asks Young-hoo an important question: why is he helping him? Young-hoo quietly opens up and tells the priest something emotional. He says that before his father died, Sergeant Park appeared in his dreams and told him to always help people in need. Because of that, even though Young-hoo still struggles to believe in God or anything supernatural, he feels like helping Father-in is the only way to honor his father's final wish. As the two continue talking, Ji-shin is already preparing another evil plan inside his hidden altar room. He sacrifices a crow and asks the sacred serpent to change his appearance. Moments later, something terrifying happens. Ji-shin transforms himself to look exactly like Father Choi. Using this fake appearance, he secretly goes to a Catholic orphanage. There, he notices a young boy named Hosuk getting bullied and beaten up by other kids. After the fight ends, Ji-shin approaches the lonely boy and pretends to be kind. He tells Hosuk that he can help him become stronger so nobody will ever hurt him again. Feeling weak and helpless, the boy agrees, but sadly, this turns into a terrible mistake. Ji-shin secretly performs a dark ritual and sends several evil spirits directly into Hosuk's body. Meanwhile, Ji-shin visits Father-in's apartment. Outside, he spots Young-hoo heading toward the parking lot to get his motorcycle. Pretending to be Father Choi, Ji-shin calls out to him. He lies and tells Young-hoo that he used to work with Father-in. Then he says something dangerous. He warns Young-hoo not to trust the priest because Father-in is secretly an evil person. Young-hoo does not fully believe him. Still, the strange warning leaves doubt in his mind. The next morning, Father-in receives an emergency call from the orphanage. One of the students has suddenly become possessed. Knowing he might need help, he quickly calls Young-hoo, but because of the doubt Jiaishin planted in his mind, Young-hoo ignores the call. Not long after, Young-hoo receives another phone call. This time, his manager offers him a huge fight in the United States that could make him millions of dollars. At first, everything sounds exciting, but deep down, Young-hoo suddenly feels like something terrible is about to happen. Instead of accepting the offer, he decides to call father-in back. To his surprise, one of the nuns at the orphanage answers the phone and explains the terrifying situation. The moment Young-hoo hears this, he rushes to help. He quickly jumps on his vehicle and speeds toward the orphanage, and he needs to hurry because inside, father-in is already exhausted. Hosuk, now fully possessed, violently attacks the priest and punches him repeatedly in the face. Trying to save him, one brave nun grabs a crucifix and attempts to force the evil spirit out, but she is not strong enough. The possessed boy suddenly jumps at her and grabs her by the throat. Everything is seconds away from disaster. Then suddenly, Young-hoo arrives just in time. Without wasting a second, he throws the possessed boy away from the nun and saves her. But once again, Young-hoo has no choice but to use the strange power in his hand. He removes his glove and places the stigmata on Hosuk's face. Immediately, bright white flames burst across the boy's skin. Then Young-hoo grabs father-in's holy water and pours it over him. The sacred flames grow stronger and begin burning away the evil spirits hiding inside the boy. Finally, the exorcism works. Hosuk is freed from possession, and father-in and the nun are safe. After calming down, they gently ask the boy what happened, but Hosuk only remembers seeing a man dressed like a priest coming toward him. The moment father-in hears this, he becomes suspicious. He believes this mysterious fake priest could finally be the Bishop of Darkness he has been searching for. For now, they let the boy rest. But as Young-hoo and father-in walk out of the room, something heartwarming happens. The children at the orphanage suddenly gather around Young-hoo and hug him tightly to thank him for saving their friend. For the first time in a long while, Young-hoo feels something different. He feels happy. Helping people makes him feel closer to fulfilling his father's final wish. On the way back, Young-hoo apologizes to father-in for not answering his call earlier, but the priest simply smiles. He says he is happy because Young-hoo is slowly becoming someone chosen to help others, almost like a messenger of God. Of course, Young-hoo still finds that hard to believe. Even now, he is not sure if he believes in God at all, but father-in feels certain that the young fighter was sent for a reason. Meanwhile, even after losing again, Jiaishin has no plans to stop. Back at his dark altar, he begins another terrifying ritual to serve the sacred serpent. This time, he uses his dark power to control one of the orphanage's guard dogs. The animal suddenly becomes possessed, and Jiaishin secretly frees it from its chain. Later that night, Hosuk is sleeping peacefully in his room at the orphanage. Then suddenly, he hears someone softly calling his name. Confused, the boy gets out of bed to check who it is, but the moment he steps outside, the possessed dog attacks him without warning. The poor boy has no chance to escape. After killing Hosuk, Jiaishin coldly offers the boy's soul to the sacred serpent. As a reward, the dark creature gives Jiaishin one of its poisonous fangs, a deadly weapon filled with powerful venom. Not long after, father-in gets a heartbreaking phone call from the orphanage. One of the nurses sadly tells him that a terrible tragedy has happened. Father-in and Young-hoo rush straight to the morgue. There, they find Hosuk's lifeless body lying inside with deep bite marks on his neck. The sight completely shocks them. Heartbroken, father-in quietly says a prayer for the boy. But while standing nearby, Young-hoo notices a strange man watching from the other side of the room. Something feels wrong. Young-hoo suddenly suspects this could be the Bishop of Darkness. Without thinking twice, he runs after the mysterious man, leaving father-in alone in the morgue. But the moment Young-hoo leaves, something horrifying happens. The body bag holding Hosuk suddenly starts moving. Confused and emotional, father-in slowly opens it, and to his shock, Hosuk sits up and asks for help. The priest feels overwhelmed with guilt for not protecting the boy. Thinking the child somehow survived, father-in hugs him tightly, but sadly, it is all fake. It is only an illusion created by Jiaishin. Suddenly, Jiaishin appears and attacks father-in using the poisonous fawn from the sacred serpent. Nearby, Young-hoo hears the priest screaming and immediately rushes back. When he enters the room, he finally comes face to face with Jiaishin, the real Bishop of Darkness. Jiaishin holds father-in hostage and makes an offer. He says he will spare the priest's life if Young-hoo gives up the supernatural power in his hand. Without hesitation, Young-hoo agrees, but father-in refuses to let Young-hoo sacrifice himself. Instead, he chooses to protect him. In a shocking moment, Father Ren stabs himself in the face with the poison Feng. Within seconds, the deadly poison starts spreading through his body. Terrified, Yang Hu quickly carries the priest away to save him. They rush to Father Choi's house. The moment Father Choi sees Father Ren's condition, he lays him down on a bed and starts praying, desperately trying to stop the curse. Watching all this breaks Yang Hu's heart. Once again, someone he deeply cares about is dying in front of him, just like his parents. Feeling hopeless, Yang Hu walks into the chapel and makes one final prayer. Standing before the image of Jesus on the cross, he begs God to save Father Ren. This time, he truly means it. He asks with all his heart, but nothing happens. No answer, no miracle. Once again, Yang Hu feels abandoned. Filled with frustration and pain, he decides that if God will not help, then he will save Father Ren himself. Before Yang Hu leaves, Father Choi gives him something important, a special cassock blessed by the Vatican. He explains that it will work like armor against evil forces. Yang Hu quietly puts it underneath his clothes. Then without wasting another second, he jumps on his motorcycle and speeds away. His destination, Su Jin's house. When he arrives, he asks her one important question: where can he find Ji Xin? Using her knowledge, Su Jin shows him a card for Babylon nightclub. Now Yang Hu finally knows where the Dark Bishop is hiding. Without hesitation, he races toward the nightclub, but the moment he reaches the entrance, trouble starts. Ji Xin's guards block his path, and these are no normal guards, every single one of them has been possessed by evil spirits. They attack Yang Hu all at once, but this is where the fighter shows why he is a champion. A brutal fight breaks out. Yang Hu blocks punches, dodges attacks, and lands powerful kicks and fast combinations, fighting several enemies at the same time. Still, even with all his skill, the numbers become too much. The possessed guards slowly start overwhelming him. Realizing he needs a new plan, Yang Hu backs away for a moment. Then he does something smart, he removes the clothes covering the Vatican-blessed armor underneath. After that, he pours holy water onto the stigmata wound in his hand. Now the real fight begins. This time, whenever Yang Hu punches a guard using his blessed hand, bright holy flames explode across their faces. One by one, the evil spirits burn away. Soon, only one possessed guard remains. The final fight becomes intense, with both sides throwing heavy punches and kicks, but in the end, Yang Hu proves stronger. He defeats the last enemy and burns away the spirit controlling him. Now there is only one person left, Ji Xin. Deep inside his hidden underground room, Ji Xin desperately prays to the sacred serpent for more power. But this time, the evil creature asks for a much bigger sacrifice. The serpent orders Ji Xin to stab his own heart using the poisonous Feng. Without hesitation, Ji Xin obeys. The moment he does, he collapses and falls into the dark well in front of the altar. For a few terrifying seconds, everything becomes silent. Then suddenly, Ji Xin rises back up, but he is no longer human, he is transformed into a terrifying half-human, half-snake monster. His body looks twisted and horrifying, filled with dark power. Now stronger than ever, Ji Xin challenges Yang Hu to one final fight. Yang Hu quickly attacks using the holy power from the stigmata in his hand, trying to burn the monster with sacred flames, but to his shock, nothing happens. For the first time, his power does not work. Ji Xin easily blocks the attack and violently throws Yang Hu against a wall. The fighter cannot believe it, he has never faced anything this powerful before. Still, Yang Hu refuses to give up. He slowly stands back up, ready to fight again. But Ji Xin suddenly launches a surprise attack. The monster bites deep into Yang Hu's shoulder and throws him to the ground. The hit is so strong that Yang Hu loses consciousness, then something strange happens. Yang Hu suddenly wakes up in a quiet, empty place filled with light, and from a glowing portal, someone appears, it is his father, Sergeant Park. Yang Hu becomes emotional immediately. After all these years, he finally gets to see his father again. Without hesitation, he runs toward him and hugs him tightly. For a moment, Yang Hu wishes he could stay there forever beside him, but Park gently tells his son something important. He says it is not Yang Hu's time yet, his mission is not over. There are still people who need his help. Then holding Yang Hu's hand, Sergeant Park gives him strength one last time. Suddenly, a much stronger energy awakens inside Yang Hu's palm. Moments later, Yang Hu opens his eyes and returns to the real world. This time, the stigmata in his hand shines brighter than ever before. A massive white flame bursts from his palm. Now stronger than before, Yang Hu stands up and challenges Ji Xin to a final battle, and this time, the fight feels even. The two enemies clash in an intense battle. Ji Xin attacks wildly using his sharp claws, trying to tear Yang Hu apart, but Yonghu fights back with flaming punches powered by holy energy. The battle becomes brutal, punch after punch, attack after attack, neither side wants to lose. Finally, Jiaixin starts getting weaker. Seeing his chance, Yonghu gathers every bit of power into his hand. Then, with one final punch, he slams Jiaixin to the ground. The fight is finally over, but Yonghu still has one more thing to do. He quickly uses his holy flames to destroy the poisonous fangs. The moment the fangs melt, Father Ren is finally freed from the deadly curse and his life is saved. Just as Yonghu prepares to leave, something terrifying appears. The sacred serpent finally reveals its true form. The giant creature is covered in countless human arms and looks more horrifying than anything Yonghu has faced before. But strangely, it does not attack him. Instead, the monster grabs Jiaixin's body and drags him back into the well as punishment for failing. At last, the nightmare is over. After the difficult battle, Yonghu returns to Father Choi's house, and to his surprise, Father Ren is completely healed. Days later, Father Choi is quietly sitting near a lake when he receives a letter from Father Ren. In the letter, Father Ren reveals that he and Yonghu are now in the Vatican, and surprisingly, Yonghu has agreed to train as an exorcist. The same man who once stopped believing in God is now preparing to fight evil spirits and help people in need. Father Ren also leaves behind his cross necklace for Father Choi. He says evil spirits will return someday, and everyone must be ready for whatever comes next. And with that, the story comes to an end. What do you think about this movie? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this recap, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more amazing movie recaps. Like and subscribe to Movie 2 Clips for more best video.